Well, good morning and welcome to the Underhood Show, brought to you by Mel Hamilton Ford. My name is Josh Profit, and I'm the service director here at Mel Hamilton Ford.
Underhood? Under the hood?
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
No.
So sometimes out of concern for time, I cut things short. I apologize about that. So,
all right.
anyways, welcome to Under the Hood.
Very good.
Again, my name is Josh Profit. I'm the service director here at the dealership, and alongside me today is Scotty Gurman. Scotty's one of our senior service consultants here.
I'm trying to. There he goes.
You see, you're moving around again, and the camera's all jacked up.
I can't sit still.
That's okay. That's okay. So we've got an exciting show for you this morning. But hey, this is anything automotive. So whatever you want to talk about, call in. And let's visit about what's going on with your vehicle. You want to talk about maintenance needs, service intervals, check engine lights, your vehicle's acting kind of funny. You want to talk about new products, anything in the automobile world. Give us a call, 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us and talk automotive. And for each and every caller that calls into the show, we're going to send you out a prize package that's valued at over $130 in value. It consists of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Mel Hamilton Ford. While we're performing that, we're also going to complete a multi-point inspection on your vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components on that vehicle, just making sure that it's geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll also receive yourself $10 to Mel's Diner so you can get yourself something to eat and drink while you're here with us at the big corner. Complete nitrogen for your vehicle so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer. And then a BG products package, which consists of a can of MOA or motor oil additive for your engine oil, and then CF5 for your fuel system. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. So let's get the phones ringing, 316-462-3673, and steer us into the ditch.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Lord.
Well, anyways, Scotty, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. It's been a busy week around here for sure.
There it goes. I'm gonna. It's gonna drive me nuts. Like every couple of seconds. I think it's just my face. My face just makes the camera go blurry or something like that. So
it it
doesn't like me.
People always say that I have a face for radio.
Anyway, yeah, yeah, me too.
To not be seen. I've told that if you're like completely cover this up, but anyways,
okay.
Let's
hey,
yeah,
there you go.
So we've got a couple things that I wanted to go over today. First of all, this week, what's really changed this week?
The temperature.
Yeah, it is hot outside, or has gotten hot outside.
I didn't even realize. I went outside and I'm just like, holy crap, it's really hot. And then I get home and my wife is like, it felt like 110 degrees today, and I'm like, it was that hot? Holy smokes! And I had no idea. But yeah, it's hot.
And so typically, whenever that happens, we generally see a huge influx in business.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say years ago, I would say that it was a lot more of a huge influx, and now it's just busy.
Yeah.
For the most part. But obviously some of the main concerns that you see when temperatures increase like this, right on the top of my tongue, is AC.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I had slated down to talk today. I got a call last night, so and we get this call, I'm sure, many times, but from the pastor of the church that I go to, and says, hey, we've got some kids, we're taking a rafting trip to Colorado, leaving Monday, and I hopped in the church van and went around the block, and the AC is just not working.
Yeah.
And I'm like, time for some kids to feel like what 260 feels like, or 280 or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, so I brought it in this morning. In fact, just before the show, I had to run back and kind of check on that and see how things were coming along on the AC system of that. But yeah, it is really hot out there for sure. And so AC systems are one of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning.
Cool.
But then also I've got I want to share a little thing that happened to me this week. and just what my experience was like in somebody in need.
Okay.
And so I wanted to go over that as well. So, but again, call in 316-462-3673. Derail this train at any point in time. Let's talk anything automotive, anything you want to talk about. But I'm gonna start in on this experience that I had this week, and you know, we can kind of dissect it in a couple of different pieces in a different ways and stuff like that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just the value of the multi-point inspection.
Yeah.
I always bring this thing up. But from your experience, I put it up on the screen. So this is our multi-point inspection. When you bring this vehicle in, regardless of what service you get, this accompanies that, right?
Right.
And so we don't have to go through each and everything, but just name some of the things that we're looking at every time that vehicle comes in.
The main three, the big three, which is going to be tires, batteries, and brakes.
Okay.
If one of these things don't work, you're stuck.
Okay. So even we can even talk about that a little bit more.
Sure.
So if one of them doesn't work, you're stuck. But how often do you see a brake pad or brake just completely fail? Like just all of a sudden it works one day and then it fails, right? Like you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
It's something that deteriorates over the time
of
driving that vehicle, right?
Yeah. And
how often do you see a tire that
a lot that just decides to blow out?
Yeah, just decides to blow out.
I mean,
like that doesn't happen near as much as what it did years ago. And if it does,
it's because of something impacting it or something like that. Like, that a tire doesn't just blow up when it's brand new or anything like that. It takes over time to wear out. And I like to always make the joke about us here at Mel Hambleton Ford. The 2% is more like the 20% of the situations, because we get to see it all a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, that is correct. Those are the things that and it's very important, man. I mean, if you're checking those things, you're giving a customer a heads up, and that is extremely important. If you're like, hey, you're at like 5:30 seconds right now. No, you don't need tires right this second, but you need to start preparing because you're going to need it in maybe an oil change and a half or whatever the case may be, how they drive. And so, and that's really important to give to a person is a heads up. You know, you don't ever want anything just popping right in front of you and stuff fun.
So obviously the big ones are the tire, brakes, and batteries.
Yeah.
And in my mind, these are items that you can budget for, you can save for, you ought to know when you need them, right? It shouldn't be a surprise to you.
Correct.
So I have a situation here of again, this is just kind of our copy of our multi-point inspection. So, but I have a situation here, and I'll kind of explain what happened or the timeline. But I have a gentleman that we service his vehicle and his wife's vehicles, and just over the years have become pretty decent friends with these folks. And I got a call on would have been Thursday night that he needed some help. So his son was in town from western Kansas up by I-70. I don't know, Colby, kind of a ways away.
Sure.
But his son was headed to Table Rock Lake. So had his truck, they had a boat behind him, which was a pretty substantial sized boat. And they stopped overnight to see his mom and dad, and was staying there. And his dad called me and says, hey, my son they're going on vacation, headed out of town, going to Table Rock Lake, pulling their boat down there. And he says, this truck, like there's just a growling noise coming from it whenever you're driving it, like all the time. And I was like, well, hey, no big deal. I'll come by and take a listen to it. We'll go for a ride and see what's going on. So keep in mind, they're going on vacation, right? Mm-hmm. So they're from, at this point already, 2 to 3 hours away from home.
Right.
They get here, which is, if I just even compounding this story, think of it, if they didn't even have anybody here that they knew.
Right.
So then where would they be as far as stranded and stuff like that? So
Stuck.
yeah,
Legitimately stuck.
they'd be stuck. So I can pull up I've got a video of what was actually happening in the truck. So I was going to share this to with yeah, hold on, let's get it put up on the screen here. So
I was gonna say I would be happy to just listen.
well, that's okay. Nah, we'll get this pulled up. So this is me test driving the.
I see the first problem.
So right now I'm testing to see which there's a wheel bearing out on this.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm trying to diagnose which one,
direction,
orientation,
yeah.
stuff like that. So anyways, there's a wheel bearing that went out on this vehicle. Okay, so is a wheel bearing what you would deem to be a something that could potentially just fail? And the answer to that is probably so. The most common thing you see on wheel bearings is typically always the right front wheel bearing that goes out first. And the main reason for that is people run it up against curbs, hit it against parking blocks. Like it's the one that takes the most abuse.
Sure.
Typically. So, okay, yeah, a wheel bearing could potentially just go out.
Isn't it cool though that we've been doing this for so long that most people would probably just hear the sound of a vehicle running down the road?
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, and me and you are both going, yeah, there's something wrong. You know?
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, after looking at that, I was like, man, you definitely don't want to just take off to the lake and all the way there, all the way back. I'm thinking of all the potential fail spots and all the many miles of really nothing or nobody to help or get you service in regards to that. So let's come back to this. We're going to go to the phones and talk to Delbert. Good morning, Delbert. You're on live with Under the Hood.
Good morning, Josh, and I forgot your name.
That's okay. I'll be on here for the next 2 weeks, so get used to it.
That's okay. I'll remember. You don't get on as often as the other guys.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Okay, so you already know about this, I'm sure. Recalls.
Yeah.
Yes. I got one on my daughter's and one on mine, but not on my wife's because I know why. But she's got an updated ECU. I'm sure. So this says that it's going to take up to 4 hours to fix and could take longer. And that's probably because you got to reprogram the ECU to a different thing.
Yeah.
So what should we be looking for if there's no signs whatsoever? My daughter's had hers for 17,000 miles. Has had no issues. So it makes you wonder, is it really an issue or not sometimes? And I know they do this by VIN number and do a certain amount. So like you said, I think you said this before, that even though yours is on that recall, it actually may not be affected, but they're trying to cover their
your basis.
Yeah.
The basis. That's what
like how we said basis.
That's the word. That's the word you're looking for, is basis.
Basis, yeah.
Gotcha.
To make sure that everything's covered. So maybe we could reiterate that to people that are getting these recalls, because it's got quite a few going on, different vehicles and all that. So they just, I think they're one of the better companies that try to get the word out. I don't even think it's on my app yet. I just think it's we got the notice in the mail last week. So
yeah, well, so recalls are one of the things that I wish we could do a lot better, but also like I think we do a pretty good job at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
What happens is there's factual information that goes out there that is very specific, and then you have people that misconstrue that factual information.
Right.
Is what happens. And so then it gets, I guess, I don't want to say, maybe blown out of proportion.
Yeah. Oh
or-
yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
ever want to downplay a recall or something from the safety standard, because there's a reason that it's out there, right? Like
Right,
something has
yeah.
happened to somebody in order for or the potential is out there for something bad to happen to somebody. So I don't ever want to downplay that. But what I will tell you,
Yeah, I think this is more of a potentially could
Mhm.
be a problem.
Yeah.
And
Because you could be stopped at a light, and then you know how people get when you're stopped and you can't go nowhere. They kind of get a little upset. So
yeah. I will say, in all my years of doing this, I don't know is that I don't even want to say that. I'm not sure that I could even say that. I don't know is that I've ever run across a situation where it wasn't that it was a life-threatening situation in a recall, if that
Oh.
makes sense. Like the worst case scenario is that maybe the vehicle would die, or
Sure.
leave you stranded, or something like
Right.
that. But at the end of the day, like, it's not there's been a lot of recalls out there for fire. There's been a lot of recalls out there for
Airbags.
and so even let's bring up
That's the one that pops into my head.
yeah, we can even talk about the airbag
Sure.
one, in the sense that, like, that was a pretty massive recall,
It's
and it
huge.
covered several manufacturers because they all used Takata airbags.
The same
I
airbag.
think it covered every manufacturer. Actually,
It did, and there was only
Yeah.
one manufacturer that preemptively decided to start replacing them, and it was Ford.
Yeah, that went after it. But,
Yeah.
but even in that scenario or case, like, there was no harm or no detriment to anybody unless you were in a collision and the airbag was going to deploy.
Right.
Now, granted, that's not when you want something bad to happen, but
Right.
the odds of that happening are pretty minuscule.
Yes,
Right. Like
yes.
the number of vehicles that are going to be in that situation are pretty minuscule. And then if you add that with the number of vehicles that actually have the problem, like,
It's even smaller.
Yeah. You might be better getting struck by lightning, or,
Yeah,
playing the lottery
exactly.
and winning that, or
that was
something
going to be
like
my
that.
analogy right there. Was getting struck by lightning, you got a higher chance to
Yeah.
do that than you do having this issue with this recall.
And
Yeah.
so, and I understand why the manufacturer, they're overcautious about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
and need to be overcautious about it. So I guess one of the answers to your question is yeah, just because you're in the classification of having that recall, then the percentage of vehicles, and they give you from the dealer side, on a large majority of them, not all of them, but on a large majority of the recalls, they'll give you a estimated percentage of defective vehicles that you will find. And that it's normally, I see 1, 2, 3, I've seen maybe as high as 10% of the vehicles that they actually recall, that 10% of these are actually going to have the problem.
Percentage of the recalled vehicles that may have an issue.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very much so. And on the recall side of things is that it's not it is time sensitive, but it's not like hey, right this second, get this deal taken care of. But it's also not something put off for years and years and years, either. And then the other aspect of the recalls is, especially, with these newer vehicles and NHTSA getting a hold of kind of controlling the recall process through all manufacturers, is that consumers know about recalls now, well, and even the internet, way sooner than even the manufacturer can prepare for.
Yeah.
Have parts availability for, can special tools out, the actual repair procedures. And so we're starting to even get into situations where they don't even necessarily have a recall, they have an advance notice on something.
Yep.
So, hey, we know there's an issue here. We're working diligently to figure out a solution, figure out parts, figure all that stuff out. And it's almost like a pre-recall. Well, the consumers are not used to that at all.
Right.
And so they get a notice and it's like, okay, well, I'll
Call
what's-
Scotty.
Yeah, what's the answer to this? What's the fix for this? And as
Yep.
a dealer, we're sitting there, you know, because there's nothing. We have no guidance, no direction to go, and that's the part that can be. As a consumer, I get it, right? Because you now know, hey, there is a potential to have a defect or a problem
Right.
with this, but also there's no solution to it. And then especially, you know, that's probably hit you at the wrong time. Hey, I'm getting ready to go out of town, or I'm ready to take a trip, or whatever.
Exactly.
And you know, where am I at with this? As to where if you didn't even know about that letter, it would never
have even popped into your head.
Yeah, never even would have been a problem. And then the third part of recalls for us is when they come out with recalls, again, because of all the how soon they have to
Tell the consumer.
Parts are a huge issue. And so there's basically like four different processes throughout a life of a recall that we have to go through as dealers to achieve a part for a recall. The very first portion of it is, and I'll give you an example of this.
Let me interrupt you by saying, in this case, it's not a part. It's just time it's going to take you guys to reprogram the computer, basically.
Sure, exactly.
Just in this one recall.
Right. But if you can imagine, because I assume that you obviously, by the way that you've reacted to the airbag recall, of how many airbags that we had to continuously have to have in stock for that recall, and the number and the number of and the number of vehicles we see on a daily basis, like it's insane how many we had to have. But go ahead.
Yeah. And even in the
and it wouldn't surprise me that you still see some of these cars come in with those recalled airbags.
We do.
Delbert, I had a Windstar that's had a recall since 2009 get towed in because it was a rear axle recall, and it came in last week, and that recall had been out until 2009.
So
oh my gosh.
And I think too that it's now there are recalls out there that will actually expire.
They will expire.
If the consumer doesn't do the due diligence to get it taken care of, like at some point the manufacturer has got to be off the hook for that. In my opinion.
Yes.
But there are certain safety things out there that, really no matter what, they'll continue to honor and
kind of like the airbag one is one of those, I think.
It is. Yep, for sure. Because you're definitely talking
focus.
Yeah.
Got it. Maybe.
Completely.
There you
go. Yeah, it's taking a little time. So anyways, I was going to discuss the kind of the different processes or stages that a recall goes through, and the parts ordering process. So first, what they go to is essentially, we have this many vehicles, and the first thing that comes to my mind was we had a drain tube for escapes.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a lot of escapes out there that had this recall, and on this drain tube, it was a bushing, and there was such a limited supply of it that basically they went out, Ford, and gave, it doesn't matter whether you service 200 cars a day or 5 cars a day, every dealer would get one part a week.
Yep, I remember that.
Now, how in the right mind does that make any sense at all? I don't know, but it was just because it was such a limited supply. And then as a dealer that services 200 to 300 repair orders a day, who gets the one part?
Yeah.
Who gets that one part, And so that's the very first process where they're handing out these parts or divvying up these parts. Now, granted, as time goes along,
I think in the case of who gets the first part, it's going to be first come, first serve. Obviously, that's going to be your easiest way to go about it. It shouldn't be, well, this customer, like me, I'm a very good customer. I come in to buy all my cars. However, that doesn't mean I should get the first one.
Sure.
Right. It should be whoever comes in first. Oh, I got this problem. Here I am. Fix me.
Yeah. Yep. The now as that recall goes on and time grew, then what you receive for what they call it seed stock every week would increase. And so, you know, it was one for so many weeks, and then it went to, I think, 3 or 4, and then eventually up to like 11, which even still 11, you know, is we're gaining, but it's not,
Yeah,
you know, it's not
very
better.
fast.
we're gaining ground, but we're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
And so, okay, now it goes from that to now they have a little bit more inventory and they go by VIN control.
Right.
Okay. So now the advisor has to go through, take pictures of the vehicle, of the VIN, of the miles, of the, you know, of the potential part that needs to be replaced. And then somebody at Ford will go through and basically assign a part to that VIN, and then they send it out to the consumer. Now, in those particular situations, I believe, don't know this, but I believe Ford will go through and actually look at like customer loyalty scores and do you service with Ford and stuff like that. And they kind of prioritize those orders going out to those customers. But even still, from my perspective of a consumer, is that's a 2-visit thing. So
Yeah.
you're coming in to get your part ordered, but then you're coming back in to have it installed.
Right.
When
Or you came in for some regular service
yeah,
and found out the issue, and then you got to come back.
Yeah.
That's the
Either way.
other thing. As like an advisor, it's like, you know, we already have your vehicle here. You're getting an oil change, and we could do this recall and not cost you any more time if we had the part here. We never want to call.
Right.
We never want to call you and be like, "Hey, sorry, it sucks, but while we're doing your oil change, you have a recall. I got to order this part, and I'm going to schedule you for next week." Now you have to make a second trip. We don't want that ever. We want to be able to take care
And
of
if we go-
things one time. It's a more efficient way of how the shop works. So
Right, and if we go back to the airbag thing, you guys are stuck with. You found an airbag issue. You can't let it go back to the
Look,
customer.
yeah.
that was
until the airbag issue's completed. Yeah,
That-
was oh god, that was horrific.
that was a weird one. I mean, there was a point to where I'm not sure. I don't think we had the mobile unit yet. No, we didn't. But we were going and picking up vehicles that had never been to our dealership before, that Ford would send out a VIN list that said, "Hey, these vehicles still have not been done. You need to contact these people and go and get them done, and take them back." Like, I mean, in some of the stories I've heard of some of the vehicles that we were putting airbags into,
yeah, in
I
a
mean,
salvage yard, or, you know,
exactly, yeah. Like, it was a huge ordeal. So that was a different deal. But yeah.
Well, and so I think probably a lot of consumers don't even realize that especially on something as severe as the airbag side of things,
Yeah.
is like the manufacturer has a guided timeline, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have, let's say, 5 years to get this addressed and cleaned up, and then at the end of that 5 years, they pay a penalty for all the
Yeah.
VINs that are not completed. You know, on that recall, if it's a severe enough recall.
Right.
And so, you know, when you're as a vehicle gets older and then you come up with a recall, like the odds of that vehicle being out of service or not even around or anything like that, and when it spans over so many years, like it could be a big thing.
It could be, yeah.
For sure. So
anyway,
so then we go from the advisor ordering the SSSC to then it's a parts controlled thing. In other words, so now we have more parts availability, and we're on a order by VIN, so we don't have to go through and do pictures, anything like that. But we do have to have a VIN specific, and no, you're not going to have anything in stock,
right?
For anybody. And then once they ramp up and have more production, then they go to you order, it's open order.
Yep.
And so when you get to that point, then that allows us to be able to effectively take care of our day-to-day business, pop-up customers, you know, everything like that.
Oh yeah.
And
you have pop-up customers, really?
we do.
No kidding. Every day.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yes, it does happen for sure. So but yeah, great question on the recalls and just kind of the different variations of it. And again, I think it's great that a consumer knows, and the sooner that is, but to not even be able to have your ducks in a row and know the logistics side of it, of that business, And in cases having to just send out an advance notice of, hey, we know there's something wrong with here, and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
As a consumer, I'm sure that can be extremely frustrating, for sure. And it's not our will for you to be in that situation by any means.
What cracks me up more than anything though is like somehow like the local news channels will get wind of a recall that affects a lot of vehicles and they have nothing else to report on that day. So then they decide to make a story about, hey, there's a recall coming. Guess what happens at the dealership? The phones ring off the hook, and it's crazy. But and then we're like looking up VINs and we're like, no, nothing's come out yet.
Yeah. Or it doesn't apply to you.
It doesn't apply to you. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So, well, great question on that.
I got a request for you, Josh.
Okay.
I can give you a 2-for-1 special. You get 2 vehicles done for once. Just send that mobile unit.
Nelson's awesome.
Yeah. Nelson does a
Nelson is the coolest.
Great job, and he would love the windshield time to Oklahoma.
100%. He would just be chipper the entire way down there, Delbert.
Yeah, we're gonna have.
He would just enjoy himself with me.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, we will have to probably pause on that for now. I just run the financial calculator, and that just didn't make sense for whatever reason.
Sorry, Delbert.
All right.
Yeah, very good. Well, hey, thanks for the call, and appreciate the questions and the comments on the recall.
Are welcome.
So, all right.
See you, Delbert.
Great day, and thanks for being on the Under the Hood show.
You
guys.
bet.
Appreciate
Thanks.
You guys.
Yep.
See you, Delbert.
Yep. Hey, 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us and talk about anything automotive. So had a great topic of discussion there. So we were talking about before Delbert called, talking about a gentleman, friend of mine, that his son was traveling with a boat, truck and boat. They're from Western Kansas, several hours away from here, but then they were headed to Table Rock Lake again with the boat and truck, and developed a wheel bearing that had went out along the way, and so had a growling noise. I picked that up, but this is the next part of this is really what I don't want to say amazes me, but just concerns me. So we started off the show earlier talking about the multi-point inspection and just the value of that thing. And what that means.
Yep.
So now we've got the vehicle back to the shop and we're writing this thing up. So a couple of different things that I wanted to share or bring up. So this is a video. This is the current miles on this thing, right?
I made the joke that I already see the first problem, and that's because it's a Chevrolet.
Well,
but that's
neither here nor there. So it has 108,000 miles.
Yep.
The concern that I have, this vehicle was serviced less than 500 miles ago.
Okay.
From it was just an independent repair facility out there. And so he's like, hey, I'm going out of town. I got to get my oil changed before I leave,
right.
Just make sure everything's good to go. And I'm ready for this trip.
Okay.
So this is the miles on the vehicle. So I'm going to go in here and I'll play this. Here's the oil change.
What is that?
Well, I covered up the top half of that because
like,
I covered up the top half because
what?
I'm not going to throw any other facility under the bus. Right?
Josh did not wake up and choose violence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Get it.
So what have you already noticed?
The mileage.
Yeah. So first of all, if it was serviced 500 miles ago,
right,
it should be a 5,000 mile oil
Correct.
change. He had 108,000.
Yeah. This is 10,000 miles. Is what they're putting for an oil change sticker.
Which I believe it was just I believe it was probably just
somebody fat
finger or a misprint. But even still, as a consumer, how many consumers drive and tell their oil change stickers that way, right?
Right. And no, most people anymore, most people go until the vehicle tells them to, unless they're one of our customers and they know. But yeah. But yeah. So that's not right.
Okay, so this bothered me.
Yeah, of course.
Right out of the gate, as you well know. Okay, so then I go through and I'm talking to the guy before I even took his vehicle, and I'm looking at the tires on the truck.
Yeah.
So this is what the consumer sees as far as tires, right? And so he's thinking
Those are 2 30 seconds to 3 30 seconds of tread.
they were a little more. They were about 4 30 seconds, but
Okay.
pretty dang close.
Okay.
Already, I'm thinking, well, man, the tires are not that great, right?
Right.
But the consumer's thinking, well, I'm trying to make it to kind of winter
Yeah.
or excuse me, a little more time before I go through and get tires. Okay. So I go through this and so this is what the consumer sees as far as what the tread depth of the tire is.
Look at the inside.
Here's what the actual tread depth of the tire is.
Yeah. Cords. Yeah.
So
That might be a problem. Holy smokes.
so now this guy is traveling across Kansas, across Missouri with a, I don't know, I would guess 6,500-pound boat
Mm-hmm.
with his family heading down the road. And that's what he's running with.
Holy smokes.
And it was just at a repair facility 500 miles previous to this.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in 500 miles, kids.
Like there's
nothing.
that is to me there's so many things that bug me about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Bugs me too.
And the other thing,
you're right, Greg.
The other thing I'm thinking of is, okay, well, you're on vacation.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing you want to deal with is something like that, especially in the middle of nowhere or potentially nowhere out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say I can't value the multi-point inspection, that's the reason that I can't put a value on the multi-point inspection.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we were able to get the wheel bearing on there. We were able to get some tires on it and get them headed down the road. But I just a couple of things. One, the insecure sense of security that he had from whatever repair facility that he took it to and had it serviced, and they, that he left there and drove on down the road. But then two, the amount of headache that potentially could have
happened,
saved or could have happened.
Right.
Not to mention just the safety aspect of it. I don't know. For me, that's tough, and that's why that multi-point inspection is so valuable.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think I've been doing well. I've been at. Oh, by the way, happy 12-year anniversary. I'm pretty sure it's today. I think it's today.
Is it?
12 years have been at Mel Hambelton Ford. I'm pretty sure it's today, but yeah, I've been here for a very, very long time, and I think that we do hold ourselves to a higher standard. I believe. I hope. I like to believe.
Yes.
But like stuff like this is, I understand why it frustrates the heck out of you, because it makes me very, very upset, because we hear stories all the time of the worst stories, which is, oh, they tried to sell me something. They tried to do, something from other places. We hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And realistically with us, I think there is more of a CYA aspect. Obviously let the customer make the decision of what they want to do, but CYA.
I want you to know.
Yeah, I want you to at least know. I want to do my job to the utmost of my ability. It's just so you're aware this could potentially be a problem. And I think we do a pretty damn good job at it.
Sure.
But that is seeing that is very, very concerning, I guess.
Well, hey, let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Greg. Greg, you're on live with Under the Hood. Good morning.
Yes, Josh. You're talking about recalls.
Uh-huh.
Hey.
Got an Explorer with the rear park assist recall. What's the status? I noticed after the strike that the 23s deleted that option, and then the early 24s, I know it wasn't available to order.
With the rear park assist.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really about component availability, for sure. You know, we're starting to see a lot more of that stuff come back. The F-150 for sure. I mean, there was a lot of components that were taken out of that F-150, just to make it to where they could manufacture it and they wouldn't hang up or have problems with that. But I believe you can add that now on the Explorers. Excuse me. But it was component availability, for sure.
On my light comes on with a warning that's unavailable. See owner's manual on my Explorer. It's a 22. What does that mean? It's not working?
Yeah, so if the light's on, then the system is seen. So basically it goes through a system check. And if it sees a fault, then it's going to send you that light. But there could be multiple things that would cause that. You know, the very first common one that we see a lot of, I'm not saying that that's it in your particular situation or case, but I've seen a lot of customers maybe live on dirt roads and, you know, sensors get blocked or muddy. And when they're unable to, when they're blocked, then they're unable to do their job. And then that will cause a lot of errors. Again, not saying that's the situation in your case, but just having the clean sensors is definitely a huge starting point. And then from there, I would say, you know, a sensor going out could be something in programming. And that's something that happens pretty routinely.
Yep.
Okay.
What we'll be more than happy to throw a diagnostic onto your package, so we can take a look at that thing. And you know, they're really a pretty trouble-free system.
Yeah.
And so I haven't. It's not like we get a large number of issues with that. And so we'll be more than happy to take a look at it and see what's going on with yours and why it's giving you trouble.
Okay.
All right.
Okie doke. Thank you much.
Perfect. I appreciate the call. Let's sorry, just getting another caller patched through here, and we'll get them on the line and see what's on their mind. But again, 316-462-3673, that's the number to jump on the air here with us, and we can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. Recalls has been a hot topic this morning. You know, see what I mean about just driving us into the ditch, which is okay.
This is okay. It's perfectly fine.
Yep.
I love being driven into the ditch. You ever been driven into the ditch with Josh? It's very quick.
You get there fast.
You get there real quick.
Yeah. Very, very good. So we'll get this other caller patch through and see what they have going on or what they want to talk about.
Okay, let him get patched in. Josh shoveling snow with a vehicle is the funniest thing in the world because he's going 80 miles an hour whenever he's doing it.
You have to.
You got to get momentum.
You have to have momentum to be able to get where you want to go. For sure. Man. So I will say that that was not my first time of doing that.
He's doing NASCAR with a shovel on the front of a truck. What is going on?
Yeah.
Anyway,
not my first time. But we are not talking about snow when it's 100 freaking degrees outside. I will tell you that.
I know. It's just one of my favorite core memories of working here is Josh in the parking lot, just with a giant shovel on the front of a truck, and he is legitimately going 40 miles an hour around this thing. Parking lot. Anyway,
the other day I was getting made fun of because I was backing in a trailer in the shop, and I was on the phone as I was doing it, and no hesitation at all. And I don't know. It just I get made fun of a lot around this place is all I'm trying to say. But that's okay.
It's because we like you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well, very good. Hey, let's go back to the phones and talk to Bill. Bill, you're on live with Under the Hood.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning.
Got a question for you. I was helping a buddy of mine yesterday. He's got a 13 F-150. Changed all the brakes on Did a brake job on it yesterday. New calipers, rotors, ceramic pads, and we had them turn the rotors before we put them on. But we're still getting that pulsating in the pedal.
Mm-hmm.
Calling to see if you had any ideas or.
So one of the questions I would have, well, what kind of vehicle are we working on?
13 F-150.
It's a 13 F-150.
Okay. And then go ahead.
I was gonna say, where did you have the rotors turned?
He took him to one of the automotive facilities here in town to have him turn after he bought him at O'Reilly's.
Okay.
Gotcha. So a couple of things that I would take note of. One of them is I was wondering if you guys did front, is the pulsation coming from the rear or vice versa? I don't know if you put fronts on it or rears on it or
we did all four.
All four. Okay. Then the next thing that I would wonder about is, so I have seen a vehicle that would have like a bent axle or a hub. Or the other thing is we use on-car lays. So basically it turns or machines the rotor in the position that it's going to be running in. So if there was a discrepancy or if it was untrue, the axle was untrue to some degree. Now it's not going to, if it's a bent axle or, there's a bent suspension component, it's not going to correct that, but it would help if there was any variances in the tolerances of those mating surfaces where the rotor mates to the hub or the axle. It's going to calibrate or adjust for that.
Right.
And so that would be one of the things. The next thing that I would wonder about is if you have a stuck slide or guide on your calipers that would be causing it to do that as well. So those are just a couple of things that I would look at. But you said all new pads.
Yeah, it was new all the way around. Yeah,
really?
Including calipers too. You said?
No, we did not replace the rear calipers. Replaced the front one.
Okay.
Yeah. The caliper slides are something that really need to be looked at or investigated, and just making sure that there's nothing seized up or hung up, and that they're able to move freely. And then the other thing I was wondering, 13 F-150, I think that has a drum and a hat rear park brake. And so I would wonder if there's something going on with the park brake shoe and they were out of adjustment.
Did you say that pulsation only happens whenever you apply brakes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I have.
You think you might lean the calipers of the front calipers, check the slides. If not, then check that park brake shoe.
The other thing that I have seen too is if you have a loose suspension component on the vehicle, I mean, it may not even be something brake related at all, but when you're on the brakes, it obviously loads those components, and if there's something that's loose or allowing it to play, it may not even be a brake issue. There may be a suspension component that's causing it. And then, I would wonder, when you're feeling this shake or shimmy, does it feel like it's coming from the steering wheel or does it feel like it's coming from the seat?
Last night I really couldn't tell. I mean, it was late when we got it done, and I was pretty wiped out, and just he drove it, and I got in and drove it, and it was like, and I told him, I said, well, let me call you today and see what you think. And then it was
I would go out and drive it again, and if it's coming from the front, it sounds like the steering wheel is going to shake violently, and if the steering wheel doesn't shake violently, it's coming from the seat, and that would indicate the rear. And I would say there's a pretty dang good possibility that it's actually the first thing that Josh mentioned, something with the turning of the rotors may be off. I'd say that's my highest percentage. The next closest thing would be if something in the rear somehow is hanging up for the parking brakes, because I'm pretty sure he's right that it is shoes for a parking brake and in the hi-hat that could also be hanging up.
So I'd be more than happy too, if you want to bring it by at some point, first part of next week, and I'd go for a spin with you and kind of get you pointed in the right direction too. So
I'll get a hold of him. I'm gonna go there this afternoon, and I'll let him know what you said, and I'll just give him your number and have him call you.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan.
He was just trying to save some money, and I said, well, I can do a brake job. It's just, now we got this issue. So
yeah,
understand. But, well, very good. Thanks for the call.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that here we are.
Derailed.
Like yeah, just back in the ditch. That's
high
okay.
speeds.
Yeah, that's okay. So,
that's fine.
Hey, I think we can kind of go through and recap. I want to definitely thank all of our sponsors. They don't get near enough love around here as well. So I do want to thank Big Corner Creative for all their marketing, advertising. They help with the podcast as well and getting it out there. But anything you need, window tint, race car wraps, social media, advertising, traditional meeting advertising, they do all sorts of designs and signage and banners and anything you need, Big Corner Creative on the marketing advertising side of things. Also, Go To Rent.
Yeah.
Cannot believe this. Summer is here.
Yeah.
It is here, and it'll be we're going to be into July and July 4th here before too long, but summer vacations
starting to put up tents.
Yeah, I seen fireworks. We'll be shooting fireworks before you know it for sure. But if you need something larger to go on your summer vacation, something more fuel efficient, Stan has a great fleet of vehicles over there. We get a lot of 12 and 15 passenger vans, expeditions, just something newer to go on your road trip. For sure, give Stan a call right inside here at Go To Rent. And then, of course, always BG Products. So all the great preventative maintenance items that BG has to offer, we carry right here inside of Mel Hambelton Ford. But those guys, just the research and development and what they put into making sure that the product that you're purchasing is going to make your vehicle go many, many more miles. Can't thank those guys enough for all their support and what they do for our customers and to help us each and every day. So, but Scotty, appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me, and everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you next Saturday.
See ya.